And all right, and here at EWJ TEFL have collaborated with them to basically facilitate our subscribers and our audience to receive CELTA and DELTA courses, which will add, a great value to your careers. So this is pretty much, a little bit of information about what today's session will be about. I would just like to, cover a few points before I introduce our speakers for today. Please make sure that your videos and audios are turned off at all times. This session will be recorded, and there will be a time for Q&As at the end of the session. So you can either, type your questions in the chat box and we'll read them out on your behalf, or you can simply open your mic and share your questions with us. And again, it will be at the end of the session. If you would like to comment or give a feedback at any time of the session, please use the chat box without interrupting our speakers. And I would love to welcome and introduce our speakers for today. We'll start with Mr. Alexander Makarius, who is the co-founder of ACE TEFL, and Alexander has been an English language teacher since 2005, a CELTA tutor since 2010, and also a CELTA assessor since 2019, and a DELTA tutor since 2018. Alexander is a all right, wonderful. Alexander, he is a very well-known teacher, trainer at the Greek ALT community. He presented in a number of conferences, and he also published many articles in local and international ALT publications. At ACE TEFL, Alexander, he is the lead trainer on the Cambridge CELTA course. So welcome, Alexander, and we're very glad to have you here today with us.
Nice to be with you, Lamia, and everybody.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our second presenter for today, George. George has, trained EFL teachers for over 30 years. His training.
I started young, Lamia.
Yes.
I started when I was 15.
All right, don't worry.
I'm kidding.
Count. Well, it's amazing to have such a wide knowledge and experience. We're very honored to have you with us today, George. George's training experience also includes designing and running pre-service and in-service courses, seminars, webinars on a variety of specialist topics, as well as planning, coordinating, and teaching on, qualifying courses such as the Cambridge CELTA and DELTA. George is currently a trainer and trainer at ACE TEFL. He is also a teacher development center in Athens. He's also co-founded this center with Alexander in 2021. ACE TEFL offers CELTA and DELTA and also train the trainer courses throughout the year, face-to-face and online. So you have both opportunities to study with them. So yeah, welcome, George. We're very honored to have you as us today as well.
Thank you, Lamia. It's a pleasure to be here with you and Educational Webinar Jam. And thanks to Maria for inviting us. So are we ready to get started?
Most welcome, George. Yes, we are. So now our attendees will see a presentation from George and Alexander. They will know more what CELTA is and DELTA is, those who are not aware of it so far. And also George and Alexander will also share with us how they can join, our audience can join their center and do the courses with them. Most welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So can I check that everyone can see my presentation? Can you just quickly type a yes in the chat if you can see the presentation screen? Thank you. Okay, I assume that the rest of you can see it as well. So we wanted to talk about CELTA and DELTA courses today. These are courses that Alexander and I have been teaching for quite a few years. So we've trained between ourselves hundreds of teachers on each of these programs, and in my case it's probably thousands after so many years in the profession. So we're very familiar with what Cambridge calls their English teaching framework. And we look within this framework at different areas that can help a teacher develop professionally, and different steps that they can take along their professional development. Now, the framework for Cambridge, which isolates and defines the different abilities that a good language teacher needs, has identified, obviously, as number one, language ability, the ability to use the language. Secondly, language awareness, which has to do with being able to analyze the grammar, the vocabulary, the phonology of the language for teaching purposes. Knowledge of what learning involves and what the learner brings to the class. So awareness of different types of learners, different types of learning contexts, different types of learning situation, knowledge and familiarity with different teaching approaches and methods, as well as principles, approaches, and methods of assessing learners' progress. And finally, knowledge of how to develop professionally as an educator and what values you need to believe in and try to develop in the people that come to work with you. So Cambridge has described the steps that a teacher can take in all 5 areas from the beginning, which they call the foundation level. And that's the level where you start, you're just beginning to teach, you're just getting some awareness of what a lesson is like and what teaching the language involves. Moving on to the developing stage of your career, which is when you have some initial awareness, you have some familiarity with teaching theories, methods, approaches, and what learning involves and what different kinds of learning situations there are. And then the next step for Cambridge is that of the proficient teacher, who has a very good knowledge in all of these areas, as well as some experience. And the last level is that of the expert teacher. Now, the main qualifications that Cambridge has to offer to us language teachers, and they're both internationally recognized, as we will see, are the Cambridge CELTA qualification, the certificate for teachers of English to speakers of other languages, and that's at the foundation to developing level, and the DELTA, or the diploma in teaching English to speakers of other languages, which is at proficient to expert level. So the DELTA diploma is really for experienced teachers who want to be the best in their field and want to be able to prove that they are the best. The CELTA is the most well-known qualification for language teachers worldwide, a qualification that any teacher needs, no matter which stage in their career they find themselves in. If they haven't already done an initial methodology course, the CELTA is the one that is the most sought after all over the world. So I'm gonna give the floor to Alex at this point, who as a CELTA and DELTA, of course, but in his capacity as a CELTA tutor and assessor and CELTA course supervisor at ASTEFL, is going to be able to give us a lot more detail about the content and the context of the CELTA course.
Sure, George.
So let me withdraw my presentation, shall I, Alex? So you
Thank you very much.
all of it.
Thank you.
And you can share your slides.
So, can you see the presentation? The slide that goes, what is CELTA? If you can, be so kind as to, okay, Fatima says, yes, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So, as George was saying, we're talking about the Cambridge CELTA. And what is the Cambridge CELTA? It is a certificate in teaching English to teachers of speakers of other languages, and it can be delivered both or either online or face-to-face. Where can you do it? Can you do it at any center in the world? Well, as long as this center has been approved by Cambridge. So you can only do the CELTA at centers which have been approved by Cambridge. And in our experience with George, it is a very, very strenuous procedure. It's not the easiest of things to be approved by Cambridge, as perhaps you might expect. So, it is the best known teaching qualification in the world, and that's why a lot of teachers, either practicing teachers or aspiring teachers, want to do the CELTA. And this is reflected even in teaching job advertisements. And I'll show you in a bit a couple, just as an example, so that you can see that it's the gold standard out there. And who can take the CELTA? Well, it's for people with little or no teaching experience. If you remember the foundation level that George showed us and the developing level, so either for teachers who have very little or even no experience, it's the foundation. However, it's also for teachers who have been teaching, they have the experience, but they have nothing to prove that experience. So it is for those teachers too who need a formal qualification to prove their experience. It is not a course which is assessed on you don't have a final written exam. It's a course-based assessment course, which means that you will be doing a lot of practical things during the course. And your assessment will be based on a portfolio. So what things will you be doing? It comprises a minimum of 120 contact hours, and those hours include very practical things as well as webinars. For examples, there will be sessions and workshops on methodology, language awareness, and so on. The practical thing is that you will be planning lessons, you will be teaching real students, adults mostly, and you will be getting feedback on these lessons. And last but not least, there is a lot of observation of other teachers. For example, on the days you're not teaching, you're observing your fellow colleagues on the course teach, so that towards the end of the day, we can all get together and discuss and talk about these lessons, do feedback, in other words. So as you can see, it is a quite practical course. In fact, 3/4 of the course, roughly, is about practicing teaching. Now, remember when I said the gold standard, we've collected a couple of job advertisements online from a very popular website for teaching job adverts, TEFL.com. So you can see, for example, here for an English language teacher in Spain, you can see that the qualifications are a certificate TEFL, preferably a CELTA, which proves the point that it is the gold standard. or even in Italy, a CELTA qualified general English teacher. So we require CELTA qualified general English teachers, or even in the UK for that matter. So again, for an English language teacher, recognize TEFL qualifications such as the CELTA. So this is just to prove to you that I'm not just making everything up about the CELTA. It is considered to be the gold standard, and it is amongst the basic requirements for teachers who want to teach abroad. Now, why attend a CELTA course at ASTEFL? Why attend a CELTA course with us? Number one is because all of our tutors are very friendly and experienced. As Lamia gave you at the beginning very kindly our bios, let's say, you heard all those years that we've been doing the CELTA and the DELTA, and so have the rest of the tutors who work with us. We always try to keep a small group of trainees for each course. The reason for that is because we want to be able to provide each trainee with more support when it's necessary. There will be a lot of one-to-one tutorials. In fact, there are one-to-one tutorials and personal support throughout the course. That's why we have small groups of trainees, so that we give our students, our trainee teachers, as much support as possible. We have very reasonable fees. In fact, we have one of the lowest fees, CELTA fee in the world, actually, and you can very easily double check that this is true by simply Googling. Our fees for the CELTA are €1,080, plus the Cambridge assessment fee for a course, which is slightly different from online to face-to-face courses. And we have excellent reviews from trainees and assessors. That is equally important. So not only do our trainee teachers, not only have they enjoyed the course, but also Cambridge assessors who standardize the course, they always visit either face-to-face or online all of our CELTA courses to double check that we followed Cambridge regulations and so on. They've all given us glowing recommendations and reports by the end. And last but not least, all of our candidates pass the course. And I'll show you the percentages later on. There are a lot of good grades too. Now, here is, for example, on CELTAdelta.com, a website that has a lot of centers, Cambridge centers, well, all of the centers in the world, basically. You can see our rating is top. It's 9.9. That puts a smile on my face. I like seeing that. So it's a 9.9 rating out of 10. You can read what our previous candidates, what our ex-trainee teachers have written about us, both about the CELTA, on the DELTA, and you can see that we have glowing reviews here. Now, remember when I told you about the 100% pass rate? Now, out of all the CELTA courses we've been running in the past 2 years, our success is 100%. And almost 4 out of 10 candidates have got a grade B, have received a grade B, and almost 2 out of 10 have received a grade A. Now, these, however, on their own, they don't mean anything. The global scale is, if I remember correctly, 96%, and that is the global statistics of the CELTA. Grade B is, if I remember correctly, 16 or 12, something like that. And the pass 8, the global rate, is 6%. So you can see that we're doing quite well. Our trainees, in fact, are doing quite well. Now, As I said, you can do our courses both online and face-to-face. We offer both options. And we also have options for for full-time courses and part-time courses. Part-time courses are usually for very busy practicing teachers, for people who don't have all the time in the world, like to attend a course from Monday to Friday for about 7 to 8 hours. But we also have full-time courses in the summer, where most trainees or teachers get some time off, and therefore they can follow an intensive course. Our specific dates are these. For our online courses, our next course starts in early February, as you can see, on the 6th of February, and it's a part-time course. And the rest of them, the courses in June, July, and August, all of which last 4 weeks. They're intensive courses. They can be done online. Or if you want to visit Athens and do a face-to-face course, we'd be more than happy, because we offer face-to-face courses in the summer too. It's not too hot. Obviously, it's not cold at all. So Athens is a beautiful city for those of you who haven't been here before. So, George, that's all
Yes,
from me.
do come to Athens. We're gonna, as Maria just commented, we're gonna have some time to answer questions at the end, right, Maria? So I'm going to move on to the Delta now and give you some information about that. For those of you who are wondering, you know, is there a difference between the CELTA and the Delta? What exactly is the Delta? What exactly is the CELTA? So the Delta is, as we already said at the beginning, I'm repeating for those of you that weren't here in the first 5 minutes, is an advanced diploma in teaching English. In fact, in the UK qualifications framework, Delta is at level 7, which is the postgraduate level qualifications. So it's for experienced teachers with some basic methodology training. And when we say experienced, for Cambridge, that experience would be a couple of years. In my experience, to do well in the Delta, you really need quite a bit more than 2 years of experience of teaching English in different contexts and with different types of students. Now, the Delta is not a course that you can complete in 1 month, unlike the CELTA. As you see, it's an advanced diploma. It's also a modular course, which means it's 3 courses in one, or 3 courses that you can do the one after the other. There's module 1 of the course, which focuses on background to teaching and learning, theories of learning and assessment, and also analysis of the language systems. And that one is assessed through a written examination that Cambridge offers twice a year. You can take the module 1 exam almost anywhere in the world. But if you like traveling, you're most welcome to come and sit the exam with us in Athens every December and every June, as we are also a Cambridge examination center for the Delta Module 1 exam. Module 2 is more practical. It involves hands-on experience of teaching different kinds of students, and also of reflecting upon your teaching practice, thinking about how you teach, and looking at how you can develop. So there are 2 aspects really to module 2. One is learning about how to more effectively teach the language systems as well as the language skills, and also learning how to reflect on your practice and improve as a teacher and develop as a professional. Module 2 is assessed through a portfolio of assignments and teaching practice. There is no written examination, but there is a lot of work that you must complete during the course, and which involves teaching as well as writing essays and reflection pieces. Finally, Module 3, which is assessed through an extended written assignment, focuses on course design and ELT specialisms. So Module 3 gives you the right to choose a specialist area of ELT that you want to learn more about and design a course that is based on that specialism. When I say specialisms, I mean things like teaching English to young learners, or teaching business English, or teaching exam classes, or teaching English online, teaching for specific English for specific purposes, teaching academic English. So there are various specialisms. Most of us who've been teaching for some time have probably experienced more than one or two of them. And most of us have also developed a preference for one over the other type of ELT specialism. So the Delta, through the Module 3 component, gives you the opportunity to learn more about a specialism of your choice and also to design a syllabus and a course. So 3 modules, you can choose to take them together, or you can choose to take each of them separately, and you can do them in any order that you like. So it's not necessary to do Module 1 before Module 2 before Module 3. You can choose the order in which you want to do the various modules of the course. But to gain the overall diploma, you need to get all 3 modules. You'll get a separate certificate for each module, and then the diploma when you have all 3. The diploma is worth 60 academic credits, and that's important. We will see why under reasons for taking the Delta. The first reason is what I told you already. The Delta proves that you are an expert language teacher. It's the expert level in the Cambridge English teaching framework. And that means that new options open up for an international career in various sectors of ELT. What do I mean various sectors? What kinds of jobs can people get once they have the Delta? Well, from the simplest, a specialist tutor, a business English specialist, an ESP specialist, an academic English tutor, to course designer or materials writer, materials developer, to senior teacher, academic director or director of studies, to teacher trainer, because the Delta is a basic requirement as well for people who wish to embark on a teacher training career. In addition, if you're thinking of doing a master's degree in TEFL, in applied linguistics, in TESOL with a UK university, the Delta will grant you credit exemptions that in fact can represent at least 1/3 of the coursework, depending on the university. So we have had students on the Delta who chose to do it, among other things, because it would make their master's degree considerably cheaper. You know, they'd have to pay for 2/3 or less of the course because they already had the credits for practical teaching that the Delta represents. So these are some of the reasons to take the Delta, and you don't really have to take my word for it. If you again check the internet for positions that have to do with a more senior status as a teacher, you'll see very large organizations like International House advertising for center directors or academic directors, where the essential requirement is, as you see there, a Delta or another diploma in TESOL, that's the Trinity diploma, but we're not going to talk about that because we are a Cambridge center. Or they say an MA TESOL, which means that the largest teaching organizations value the Delta at the same level as they value a master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages. The highest paid jobs in the UK for language teachers, which are actually English for academic purpose teachers, or English for academic purposes lecturers, they sometimes call it. They also require that you have a Delta, as you can see here. So Oxford International here advertises you need to have a master's and the CELTA, or you need to have the Delta. Imperial College in the University of London also requires a Delta for their academic purposes teachers. And Cambridge itself, for those of you who are aspiring to become a tutor on a Cambridge teacher training course, such as the CELTA, that's again a necessity to begin training to become a CELTA tutor or a Delta tutor for that matter. You must have lots of experience and also the Delta. So Delta is really the opening of the door to the most senior jobs in our profession. And it's also the first step to becoming an accredited teacher trainer. As such, the Delta is not an easy course. It's not for the faint-hearted, right? But there are different degrees of support that you can receive depending on the center where you're doing your Delta. And there are different options for how long you can take to do it. So the shortest span of time in which you can complete your Delta, for a normal person at least, would be 6 months. That would involve 8 weeks of very intensive training, 8 hours a day or more for 8 weeks to complete module 2, another couple of months to complete module 1, and another couple of months to do your extended assignment for module 3, provided that during those 6 months, you do absolutely nothing else. Okay, so that's not, it wouldn't be possible to do all of the Delta modules in 6 months if you were working as a teacher at the same time. This is 6 months full-time. If you, like most of us, have to work, so you have a job, you're teaching at the same time, but you still want to do an advanced course like the Delta, you can still do that, but it will take you a little longer. 2 years is fairly standard for people who have a full-time teaching schedule, so they need to do the Delta part-time. But it is possible to do the Delta in more time than that. I know people who've taken 3 years or 4 years, so they do one module, then they take a year to relax, and then they come back for another module. That's also possible. So that's why I put down there 2 or more years. Now, I've been saying all this time that Delta is a lot of work, that Delta is a lot of work. How much work is there? Well, with us, the way that you would be working on your Delta is through interactive input sessions with your tutors. So interactive input sessions means we will be meeting on Zoom if you're taking the online course, or live in person if you want to come to Athens, for workshops, input sessions, discussions, and mini lectures online to make sure that we cover all areas of the syllabus of the Delta. But also, we provide preview tasks on our learning management system so that you can prepare for a session, read up on it, and also come up with the right questions. And we then provide the opportunity for a review of the input, again, on our learning management system. And then to support you, you will get individual tutorials with your tutors on Zoom if you're on an online course, or obviously in person if you are on a face-to-face course. And in those tutorials, we will also give you support and help so that you can prepare your assignments, and we will look at assignment drafts together with you and lesson plans together with you, so we can help you improve them and do better. And after each assignment and teaching practice, there will be another tutorial, again on Zoom or face-to-face, to discuss the assignment, to see how you can do even better in your next assignment or in your next teaching practice. There is actually a color code in the 6 boxes that you see there. The red color is for work that requires that you are there with your tutor. And the blue things are things that you do in between meetings with the tutors, whether in tutorials or in input sessions, things that you do studying privately on your own. Now, the reasons why I believe, obviously, that doing the Delta with us is going to be better than doing it somewhere else are pretty much the same that Alexander mentioned about the CELTA. The first one is the tutors. We really do care, guys. And all of our students will tell you that. If you read our reviews on independent sites, the word that comes up most often in the feedback that we get from our students is support. They all feel they have been extremely well supported in whatever they do. And that's the main reason all of our reviews are excellent, as are our results. Because if you believe in people, if you believe you can bring out the best in people, and I'm sure you know that from your students as well, and you support them adequately, they are going to produce, they are going to come up with the goods. They are going to produce good lesson plans, excellent assignments, and to deliver very good lessons. So all of our Delta Module 2 students, for example, have passed, and a lot of them with good grades. The vast majority of our Module 1 students passed their exams as well, and all of our Module 3 students have also passed, some with excellent grades. As with the CELTA, we keep the fees reasonable for 2 reasons. One is we're not business people, we're teachers predominantly. So we're not doing this to make money. We're doing this so that we can do something we like and at the same time be able, of course, to survive. So we realize that teachers are not very rich people. If they were into money, they would have chosen a different profession. So the fees we charge are, again, amongst the most reasonable in the world. ACE-TEFL offers systematic preparation and support for all modules, and we offer the most flexible course options that you can think of. You can choose to do your Delta part-time or full-time. You can choose to do all modules together or each module separately. You can choose to do it face-to-face or online or a combination of the two. And for module 2, your teaching practice can be with either our students face-to-face or online, or your own students face-to-face or online. As for details of the cost, I have them on a slide because there are many different modules, so there's a lot of figures there. Our tuition fees, if you choose to do all the modules with us, is just 2,300 euro. If you choose to do each module separately, it's a little more. It's quite a bit more, actually. But we do have installments available for part-time courses, and we do have early bird discounts if you apply and complete the application process at least a month before the course begins. There are also the Cambridge fees, which unfortunately we cannot control. These are controlled by Cambridge, so I'll just give you the current fees that Cambridge charges for each module here. So when and how can you then do your Delta with us? What are your next options? Module 1, you can start in February and do it at a relaxed pace with a break in the summer so that you can sit for the module 1 exam in December. It's also possible to start module 1 a little bit later and still do the exam in December, but without a break in the summer. Module 2, if you want to come to Athens and do it intensively, face-to-face, coming and doing your teaching practices and your input sessions and your tutorials here in person, you can do it either in the summer from the 3rd of July or in the autumn from the 9th of October. But if you want to do a part-time module 2, online or blended, we start in a couple of weeks with meetings once a week. And as for module 3, that's a one-to-one option with one-to-one sessions with your tutor. So you can basically start the course anytime on demand. So I think I've given the basic information that I had to give, and so has Alexander. So now is the time to ask any questions that you like, whether you're brave and you want to turn on your mic and just ask the question, or you'd like to put it in the chat. Alex and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about the CELTA or the DELTA.
George, if you allow me here, I would like to share to our attendees that I am going to share a link in the chat box that if you are interested to join these courses, you can register through that link. More details are found on our website as well under teacher training courses. And these details can also be found on ACE-TEFL. So I've created a link that ACE-TEFL information about the upcoming CELTA and DELTA course is on our website. And the registration link is also available on the website there. So if you wish to have further details about it or register, or you seem interested, you please register via the link that is going to be there on the chat box now. And ASTEFL will contact you directly. And you have any other further questions, you can ask George and Alexander now.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much indeed. Let me also put our site link there because people may want to find some more information about our courses.
Mm-hmm. There is a question by Christina. George, can you see it? She asks if...
Yes, I think that's a question for Maria, isn't it? A certificate of attendance for today's meeting. Right, Maria?
Yeah, yes, that's it. But for today, it's just a webinar about introducing ASTEFL to our platform and how our attendees are able to register via our platform to ASTEFL for CELTA and DELTA course. So it's not a webinar that we usually do. We give certificate of attendance for. I hope that helps, Christina.
Thank you, Maria. I've just seen Lamia's comment. Really, Maria, Lamia, you paid almost $2,900 for your CELTA?
That's a lot. That is a lot.
You must have done it at the most expensive center in the world.
Yeah, I did it in Boston, and it was like face-to-face, but it was really expensive. And like
my
university had to actually pay for half of it. I had to scholarship to afford it. It was really expensive. Yeah. And once I saw the fees, I was like, wow, that's really, really affordable.
Even more expensive than the Delta.
That's true. That's true.
Wow.
They offer actually the Delta as well, and so it's more expensive. Let me tell you exactly how much.
Well, if they charge 2,900 for the CELTA, they would charge more than 5,000 for the whole Delta, right?
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Yes. So we open to questions now. If anybody wish to communicate directly with George and Alexander, please feel free to do so.
If you'd just like to type your question in the chat, or even to turn on your mic and just ask.
Omnia, I see your mic being unmuted. You wish to say something? You wish to ask something?
Can I ask actually a question? So when is the nearest starting date for both CELTA and DELTA courses? So when is the
6th of February for both.
For both, okay.
So that's in 2 weeks' time, really.
All right, great.
So the link is already in the chat box. If you're interested to register, please add your details there. We have also added an option if you are feeling scared at any point that you need a pre-CELTA or a pre-DELTA preparation course. We have left that option open, but that can only be run if we have minimum 10 attendees. And George, would you like to add more to it, please?
Sure, that's a request that we've been getting from some people. They say, oh, will I be ready for the CELTA? Will I be able to do it? So we can offer you a very short and extremely reasonable pre-CELTA preparation course, just to guide you through the process of applying and the pre-course tasks and what you have to do before the CELTA to ensure that you're going to do really well. But in my experience, I have to be honest and say this, the vast majority of people do not really need a pre-CELTA course. What they need is confidence. They need to feel better about themselves. So part of our pre-CELTA course, or pre-DELTA course for that matter, is to boost people's confidence and help them believe in themselves, so that they can do their CELTA or DELTA without fear.
Yep. Perfect.
I have a question. Somebody's asking if she needs to do IELTS before that. Is there any process that you guys follow for the language skills that people wish to join your courses?
There is a minimum language level that we expect. Alex, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, it is a C2 level. That's the minimum language level. And we also have, we also get an idea of the level of the language of a prospective candidate through the pre-interview tasks that they're going to do, so that we can check their writing skills. There will be an interview to check their speaking skills and so on. The minimum.
So we need to clarify
level,
that. I don't think we've said it in so many words.
Mm-hmm.
Registration on the CELTA or the DELTA is not automatic.
Yes.
So it's not, I decided I want to do the CELTA, take my money and accept me. We need to check that your level of English is right for the course, so that you can actually learn, you can benefit from the course.
Yep.
So there is a procedure which involves a short pre-interview task and an interview with one of the course tutors. And if that goes well, which in 99% of cases it does, then you are accepted and then you can start working on your course. But we have to have a selection process for the protection of our trainees as well.
Exactly.
So you don't get people who can't even speak English and they join your course, because that doesn't help the others and it's not fair to either the tutors or the other trainees. So if you're thinking of applying for a CELTA or DELTA course, do not apply the day before the course starts, because that's too late. You need to apply at least 10 days in advance, and even that is pushing it, right? Was there another question that, Maria, you got?
That was pretty much it. We have another 2-3 minutes if any of our attendees wish to use the chat box to add any questions, or they can unmute themselves and ask directly as well. So we have 2-3 minutes more. If the attendees still wish to communicate, you still have some questions in your mind. This session is also being recorded, so it will be available to our attendees or our audience and subscribers in next 24 hours on our YouTube channel. So if anything you're still not sure of, you want to hear George and Alexander, what they have described about the course, can also be heard there on our YouTube channel and also on our website. And George has kindly shared his website link as well, with lots of details there. Other courses as well, teacher training courses, any other course you wish to join in is also available on his website or their website.
Okay, so it looks like people don't want to ask questions now, or don't need to ask questions now.
I think this is pretty much informative, and I think you covered all the points that I personally had questions about, because I'm starting, the Delta soon. So I think it was pretty much really clear, and it covered.
Thank you very much, Lamia. So if anyone thinks of a question later, they can always send it to us, but we do have one from Farah. How likely is it that a non-native will get a placement after CELTA? Extremely likely is my answer. In the vast majority of countries in the world, there is no discrimination against non-native speaker teachers. And in fact, in most countries, it is illegal to, in Europe, it certainly is illegal to advertise for native speakers or non-native speakers for that matter. Schools advertise for qualified teachers. So a qualified teacher is a teacher that has as a minimum the CELTA, and as we said, for more senior positions, the DELTA as well. Both Alexander and I are non-native speakers of English ourselves, that, you know, in my case, it never stopped me from getting the best jobs in my sector.
Likewise, yeah.
And a lot of
in many
and a lot of our
different
candidates, George,
capacities.
and a
I
lot
have
of our
Sorry?
candidates have worked
website.
abroad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true. Actually, it develops lots of skills that you need as practical skills and knowledge that you need, that your master's degree or your any other degree would give you. And CELTA and DELTA is a notch up for the teaching skills that teachers require. And I have also practically seen that the skills that I learned through doing my CELTA was way better than what the theoretical aspect I learned through doing my master's.
So to sum up, to answer Farah's question, we do know we don't live on a different planet. We do know that there are still certain countries in which native speakers will get an unfair advantage. However, I think things are changing. Things have certainly changed a lot since I started teaching.
Definitely, yeah.
And in most countries, it would be illegal even to advertise for a native speaker teacher.
Mm.
So no discrimination is allowed by law. Actually, if I have a moment, I have a funny story about that. I've been around for some time. So back in the 90s, when I got a job as an examiner with Cambridge for their different language teaching qualifications, in the early 90s, it was pretty unusual to have non-native speaker examiners. Everyone thought that examiners had to be native speakers. And that included some of the examiners themselves. So one of my colleague examiners said to me once, "So George, what are you exactly? Greek English, Greek American, Greek Australian, or what?" I said, "I'm Greek." And she said, "Oh, I didn't realize they allow non-native speakers. How come?" Well, I said, "Maybe because I'm qualified. What qualifications do you have?" It was interesting that, you know, a lot of us non-native speaker teachers that got jobs as examiners at that point continued and thrived, but some of the native speakers that did not have appropriate qualifications had to stop working as examiners. So it's about the qualifications and the experience that you have, not your passport. I've said it.
True. Yes, it was bold of you to say that, but yeah, it has becoming a reality now that they start accepting that non-native teachers are equally good as native teachers. So we're glad to know that. Great. I think we will stop our webinar now. And I would like to thank Lamia for moderating our session today, George and Alexander to join us today at EWJ. And I have shared the link for the registration as well in the chat box. Email if you wish to communicate with us further. And
actually, let me reshare that.
Please.
Because I think it's just to me. So that's the registration link, everyone.
Okay.
And can I also share the email of
Please.
Educational Webinar Jam? Is that correct, Maria?
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria, for organizing this. Thank you, Lamia, for hosting it in such a beautiful, expert, professional manner. And thanks everyone for being here. Hope to see you again on another occasion in another webinar, maybe to do with an aspect of methodology rather than information about courses. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.